So we had you on though because we wanted to talk to you about what's going on here with Jerry Jones. I was just hypothesizing that he loves this circus, that he loves being the entertainer, and he doesn't care how it looks, and he doesn't care how it reflects on anybody. Do you think that's accurate?
I think so. I think he does see it as a total circus, and he does love to be in the center ring. But I mean, look, why else would you, while the national anthem is playing prior to a practice, refuse to take your cap off just a couple days after saying any Cowboys player who does not stand for the national anthem and toe the line is off the team? It really is just a ludicrous position. And his son, Steven, told him to take the cap off. It's on the video that was part of that Dale Hansen piece that we all watched. And Jerry still refuses to take it off, almost as if sort of saying, you know, the rule, do as I say, not as I do. The rules do not apply to me. He loves being the villain. In the summer I spent with him back in 2014, as long as people are talking about him, talking about the Cowboys, talking about the NFL, relevance is the word he uses. As long as the team is relevant and he is relevant and the NFL is relevant, whether the headlines are bad or are bad or good, it doesn't matter to Jerry Jones. So I agree with that hypothesis, Dan.
Don, you know Jerry Jones pretty well, and I ask you this because I don't know the answer to the question. Is Jerry Jones a likable guy, do you think, or do you find him unlikable?
Oh, he was very likable in the summer I spent with him. I mean, we hung around together in Oxnard at training camp. I had dinner with him at a steakhouse in Dallas. I flew on his private plane to Fayetteville, Arkansas for an event there. We spent a lot of time together, talked on the phone a lot. He's extremely likable. He loves to have a drink. Johnny Walker Blue was the co-star of that story. He loves telling stories. He's extremely likable, and the owners all generally like him. You know, he gets his way more often than not, too, because he's done so much for the league with revenues. He's had vision, built that amazing stadium. And so he's easy to like. Now, he has made some moves in the last couple of years that have baffled people and have not been helpful. Certainly what he said last week was not helpful while the NFL and the Players Union are trying to resolve this issue that's now going into a third season with kneeling players and what it's doing to the business. And so, you know, some people are wondering whether he's lost a step. He's turning 77 in October. But Greg, he's extremely likable, and even among owners, and even when he's doing things that are not the best for the game, as he's doing the last couple of years, he's still very popular among most of the owners.
Still, Don, because it stands to reason that the rest of the owners would like him less right now.
Well, I think so. Yes, Stu, I think that's right. And that's why he was told to be quiet, which is a pretty remarkable thing because, you know, I've said on your guys' show and I've said on many ESPN platforms that Jerry Jones is really the shadow commissioner. He and Robert Kraft are the two owners that have the most power and the most influence with Roger Goodell and often get their way. But, you know, remember last year prior to the training camp opening, Jerry Jones said at his first press conference that he was absolutely certain Ezekiel Elliott would be cleared by Roger Goodell. Now, he said that because he was just trying to send a message to Roger Goodell, who usually does what he wants. And if you remember, just a couple weeks after that, Roger Goodell hammered Ezekiel Elliott with a 6-game suspension on those domestic violence charges. I believe what he did just a couple weeks ago when the training camp over a week ago when the training camp opened is the same exact thing. He said the Cowboys are all going to stand for the anthem. He's sending a message, he believes, to Roger Goodell and those negotiations that are going on between the union and the league right now, that's what he wants to happen. And he was told to be quiet, which is pretty extraordinary. So, Stu, you may be right. He may be losing some of that mojo with both Roger Goodell and some of his fellow owners.
Don Van Natta with us on ESPN Radio.
Don, I was kind of making fun of Jason Garrett before. I have in the past. He's essentially Jerry Jones's puppet. I can't imagine what it would be like if Jerry Jones had a coach that would challenge him on anything, including the national anthem policy. Is Jason Garrett his head coach simply because Garrett will not challenge him on a single thing?
I can't think of a single thing that Jason Garrett has ever challenged Jerry Jones on. So that's possible. That's probable that that is one of the great qualifications that he has. Because if you look at the play on the field, he's an okay coach. But look, there's only been 3 playoff wins for the Dallas Cowboys in 22 years, as Dale Hansen pointed out, and that annoys Jerry Jones to no end. And so Garrett hasn't really put up the numbers that you'd expect for having been around so long. So I think, yes, the fact that he's a yes man for Jerry certainly helps Jason Garrett.
Don, this kneeling controversy now is entering its 3rd season. It seems like such an unwinnable quagmire for the NFL. If you're Goodell, what's the end game? What is the compromise? How do you get rid of this controversy while not alienating the cause?
What's the end game, Spence?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a great question. I don't know if there is one other than maybe, ceasing the playing of the national anthem before games. That's been suggested to just stop that. I know there would be a firestorm of protest about that, but that's one way to make the issue go away. Another is to keep all the players in the locker room. It's only been since 2009, as I think you guys know, since players have been out for the national anthem. Go back to that old rule, that 2008 and prior rule, and keep all the players in the locker room during the playing of the national anthem. But it's a very, very tough dilemma that Goodell faces, and Goodell has proven time and time again he's not good when there's tough dilemmas confronting him. This is not his strong suit. His strong suit is doing what the owners want, usually what Jerry Jones and Robert Kraft and John Mara and a few others want. And so, I don't have a lot of faith that there's going to be a great solution here coming out of those negotiations between Roger Goodell and the union right now.
There has to be a 0% chance of removing the anthem, right? That has to be at 0. There's no way these guys would fight this way for 3 years over this, and these billionaires would cave on that like this. I can't imagine what would have to happen for the owners to cave like that on anything.
No, that's right. That's probably close to 0% chance. Now, there's probably a single-digit percentage chance, Dan, that the owners will go back to that pre-2009 policy. Look, they tried to cut the baby in half with this silly solution that they came up with in the spring to allow each team to make their own decision and make their own fines. Roger Goodell claimed it was unanimous, and right away we heard a couple of owners were not happy with it. Immediately the Jets said they weren't going to fine people. All politics are local. Jerry Jones is in Texas. In Texas, it's very important for players, every single one of them, to be standing with their toe on the line. It's a very different consideration if you're in San Francisco or New York or in New England. So it's a very tough dilemma that the President Trump has put the league in. And as Trump said to Jerry Jones, it came out in those transcripts, Jerry Jones was told by Donald Trump that this lifts me. This one lifts me. This is a very winning, strong issue for me. So the owners have allowed basically Trump to set this agenda, and as long as they continue to do that, they're going to have some part of their fan base unhappy. It's a really tough. It's a winning issue for Trump. It's absolutely a losing issue for the NFL.